Yeah, today I'm announcing that Noah Samsen on it was Wednesday night, was on the receiving end of a demand for retraction.
Today's Wednesday.
Monday, I mean. I thought it was Monday today. Me and Mudahar together teamed up, and we sent a demand for retraction to Noah Samsen Monday night after the show. In this letter, which I will read after the break, we highlight the defamatory statements and explain in great detail why they're defamatory. All he has to do to avoid getting sued is apologize for everything he said and did, admit he was either lying or ignorant, and erase the video, and also disgrace, and just accept the disgrace that is basically lying about two people being pro-genocide, which is one of the most twisted, fucked up things you can accuse someone of. And so the ball is now in your court, sir. You have 20 days from the moment you received it to respond. Otherwise, this piece is being moved to the next piece on the board. And
Space.
What?
The piece would be moved to a different space, not to another piece.
The piece would be moving to another space on the board. We'll be advancing the battle plans.
I want to play a game.
Now Noah, you want to play a game? Yo, it's funny. You guys, I said I wasn't playing around when the CPS thing came. I said I'm not playing. Whatever you thought was going to happen, however you thought this was going to go, it's no longer going like that.
What happened should have happened.
And
what
Noah,
should have happened happened.
You are the first of several, to be feeling what it means for me to be totally unhinged. Although legally and morally correct as well. That's the part that's going to be a really hard time for you, bud. So Noah's going to have to prove on paper, legally, to a judge and potentially a jury, why and how we support genocide, which will not be possible to do because all the innuendo and all the bullshit and all the fucking lying that they do, him, Hassan, fucking George, that dude that lives in a cockroach-infested corner of Argentina, he's a mama's boy that fucking hides in a dark corner of Argentina, thinks he's untouchable. Guess what, George? You're not untouchable either. And when I'm done with these fuckers, I'm putting my full attention on you, bitch. When I'm done with Noah, when I'm done with the other one, the big one that's dropping probably next week, my full attention is going to you, George, like the Eye of Sauron. I see you. I see you out there, you fucking cockroach. If I was Noah and I read this letter, I would be shitting my pants. This is no joke. This letter is extraordinarily well reasoned. It's extraordinarily well sourced, and it is not hyperbolic at all. In fact, so Noah said in his second video, Ethan's threatening to sue me. Have fun with that, I guess, he said. Well, I'm about to have fun with it, and unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be having much fun with it. Oh, he went private? Oh, he went private on Instagram? Why? He can't stand any of this heat? Noah went private on Insta? The guy who went on his YouTube channel and brazenly said that I'm pro-genocide can't handle a few comments on Instagram? What's going on here, Noah? Oh, man. Yeah, he's scared shitless. He is. So here's the letter we sent. We sent it to his public email address, and we also FedExed it to his home address, which I'm sure he must have seen it. Like, I don't know. As a YouTuber, I think he must check that email address. And if not, he's going to get a knock at the door with some FedEx, baby. Demand for correction pursuant to California Civil Code, Section 48A. Dear Mr. Samsen, we are counsel for Mudahar and Ethan, our collective clients. If you have counsel, please forward this letter to them and have them contact me about this matter. We are writing you pursuant to California Civil Code, Section 48A, demanding you make a retraction and correction in compliance with the statute. Your March 11th, 2025 video entitled The YouTubers Who Backed a Genocide, the first defamatory video. The defamatory videos contain numerous defamatory statements against our clients, which are set forth below. Now, this part just explains the legal definition of defamation, which I don't need to read. It's just kind of setting the stage, the board, if you will. So the first thing is we talk about what he said about Mudahar. Whether our clients supported by material or moral assistance or otherwise, genocidal acts by Israel with the intent to destroy in whole or in part the Palestinians is subject to being proven true or false. The surrounding context further emphasizes the first defamatory statement is an actionable assertion of fact. Throughout the first defamatory video, your language is factually specific, earnest, and serious in tone. This is emphasized by holding yourself out as having, quote, specialized knowledge or expertise in the Israel-Palestine conflict due to the large volume of material you cite in the first defamatory video, much of which you misrepresent. He said that? Yeah, he said he has specialized knowledge, even though every time it comes up, he just is like, watch Bad Empanada. That's crazy, dude. Critically, you either fail to disclose the factual basis for the first defamatory statement or you misrepresent the actual basis. For Mudahar, the first defamatory video only shows two very brief clips from Muda's October 21st video entitled, Twitch is a disgustingly evil platform. Not only did you fail to disclose the source of these clips, it is evident that you intentionally misrepresented it. In Muda's video, he explicitly states, quote, like I've said before, and I've been clipped a few times, and even when I stream, videos do get uploaded of my takes on situations that I feel I need to clarify. I am not somebody that is afraid to say that genocide is wrong. I think there's an actual case of, genocide, and there's an actual case of attack that goes towards the Palestinian people. Later in that video, and further in relation to the Twitch IP ban of Israel and Palestine, Mudahar states, honestly, if you really think about it, this rule actually hurts Gazans more than it ever would hurt Israelis, because Twitch's geoblock, if it targeted that region, if they wanted to allow people to document and live stream the real atrocities that are occurring to them in that region, the Palestinians could have used that platform to showcase it themselves. You intentionally omitted portions of Muda's video that demonstrate he does not support the take of Asmongold on Palestinians. Immediately before the clip you used in the defamation video, Muda stated. So obviously, Asmongold walked back his statement and apologized. He said, my bad, and of course nobody deserves to have their life destroyed, even if they do things or have views I find regressive. So in this situation, one could, if they were being charitable, could say that Asmongold was probably referring to the extremists in the Islamic religion and their view on people in the LGBTQ camp. Lastly, Muda's initial reaction to Asmongold's take on Palestine is easy to find on YouTube. Before Muda even watches the clip, he states, this is going to be bad. Immediately after watching the clip, Muda expresses his shock at Asmongold's take and states, quote, I don't think anybody should sit here and be like, I guess a whole group of people deserve to be genocided. This is a clear and unequivocal condemnation of Asmongold's take. Due to your intentional and material omission and misrepresent of what Muda stated in his video, the first defamatory statement is actionable assertion of fact that was made with the knowledge that it was false. So that's Muda. I mean, and his is just completely open and shut. He put Mudahar, a practicing Muslim, in the fucking thumbnail of his video and said he supports genocide. A statement that has had far-reaching implications for his life as a practicing and active member of his Muslim community. That some white bread bitch boy wants to fucking play white savior. You know what I mean? And target Mudahar for being pro-genocide is the most pathetic, backwards bullshit ever. I think it's so funny that the leftists are like, we don't want to listen. We don't listen to. We prioritize the voice of minorities, right? Or those who are on the receiving end. But Noah Samsen said that Mudahar is fucking pro-genocide. Everybody clap. Unfortunately for Noah, the video that he cites, Mudahar literally contradicts his claims. So he either didn't watch the entire video, which would constitute willful abandonment of the truth, or he did watch the whole video and knowingly lied and made malicious lies. I don't think they understand, like, saying that someone's pro-genocide is not something to play with. Like, you people know, like, you can't just be like, oh, this guy's a pedo. Like, you can't just, like, say that. Because you'd be like, oh, genocide is the worst thing you can be. So these guys think it's just cute and fun. It's just like oh yeah, no, they're pro-genocide. Oh, this guy disagrees with me. He's pro-genocide. That's not how this works. And Muda's case is so open and closed, man. It's just it's actually laughable. The truth is, in my opinion, that Mudahar takes aim at Hassan in this video for platforming the Houthi terrorist kid. And he makes fun of him for comparing him to Anne Frank and all this types of shit. And once again, what actually makes you pro-genocide is criticizing Hassan. Noah, I hope you've enjoyed the attention and the accolades and all the praise, because reality is coming, my friend. And even in California, with the most protection for free speech against defamation lawsuits, even here, this is defamation, my friend. Now, moving on to my part. As for Ethan, you either failed to disclose the factual basis for the first defamatory statement, or when you did disclose the factual basis, you either misrepresent the facts or rely on George Angelos Jonitis. His last name sounds like an STD. You've got Jonitis? Holy shit, bro. Are you even allowed to travel with that kind of disease? George Jonitis? What a dumbass loser. Angelos Jonitis, a source known to be highly biased against Ethan with a history of harassing, doxing, and making false statements about others. Specifically, those statements are following. The second defamatory statement. In Content Nuke, you find just about every type of what we just looked at in terms of manufacturing consent. Ethan spreads atrocity propaganda. He shares the Hamas rape hoax. The same hoax that was used by Western media, the U.S. government, and the Israeli government to justify genocide, is the second statement Noah said. The third one is, Ethan spreads overt misinformation. He straight up lies about Hezbollah and the Houthis in order to delegitimize their struggle against the Israeli genocide. He cites baseless claims from Saudi state propaganda outlets to attack the Houthis. He also cites a documentary about the Houthis, which he uses as proof of the claim that they brought back slavery, when the documentary wasn't even about the Houthis. It was about the Yemeni government before the Houthi takeover. The fourth defamatory statement. He spreads long debunked Nakba denial talking points that have been used for decades to legitimize Israelis' colonization of Palestine. Ethan cites sources that contradict his own claims directly, such as the UN report he claims proves the Hamas mass rape allegations, which the report itself denies. The sixth defamatory statement, he spends 20 minutes in the video smearing a 19-year-old survivor of a U.S.-backed Saudi genocide in Yemen as a terrorist with zero credible evidence, he claims. So these are the defamatory statements he said about me, and it's just a party, right? It's just so much fun here. We're having so much fun here, aren't we, Noah? Further, it is clear you knew that Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza because you watched, or claimed to watch, Content Nuke Hassan Piker. In the nuke, Ethan expresses his repeated condemnation of Israelis' treatment of Palestinians. This emphasizes that you knew Ethan did not support genocide in Gaza, but still labeled him being one. Additionally, Ethan condemns the genocide in Gaza on numerous occasions prior to the nuke. And these are all attached with sources of what he's referencing. Your desire to falsely paint Ethan as supporting genocide in Gaza is emphasized by the end of the first defamatory video, where you state, I think many of you can probably also help out with that. Most of you have smartphones and cameras and TikTok. So go ahead, start posting about it, spread the work. Aside from being a morally good thing to do, it's also becoming sustainable. You know, it's algorithmically viable. The Ethan Klein crash out industrial complex is booming. Isn't that fucking interesting? This statement demonstrates that you intended to not just have third parties spread defamatory statements about Ethan, but profit from these defamatory statements. You proved this point yourself. When your video entitled Manufacturing Consent for Genocide failed to receive many views, the one prior to the second video, particularly in comparison to the first defamatory video, you made the second defamatory video to further profit from your defamatory statements about Ethan. What a fucking psychotic thing to say. Everybody go on and lie about Ethan everywhere, and you can make a pretty penny doing it. The second defamatory statement and the fifth defamatory statement. So now we're going to prove these wrong. The second defamatory statement, you do not disclose the factual basis for how Ethan engaged in every type of manufactured consent, with one exception, your false assertion that Ethan spread the Hamas rape hoax, which you expanded upon with the fifth defamatory statement, i.e. the false assertion that Ethan misrepresented the UN report on sexual violence. The mass rapes on October 7th were not a hoax. In your defamatory video, you cite paragraph 84 and 86 from the UN report. From the language you displayed in the defamatory video, it makes it clear that there were mass rapes on October 7th. Quote, overall, based on the totality of information gathered from multiple and independent sources at the different locations, there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred at several locations across Gaza periphery, including in forms of rape, gang rape, during the 7th of October attacks. Credible circumstantial information, which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including genital mutilation, sexualized torture, or cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, was also gathered. This, by the way, in the reports that Noah says that nothing happened, which is a continued talking point that I see by him, Hassan, and co. being like, oh, actually, that UN report completely exonerates Hamas. It's like, you're fucking lying, dude. Not only that, you're siding with terrorists over people who are genitally mutilated, sexually tortured, gang raped, and degraded by cruel treatment. You are throwing them aside to side with terrorists, in this case, Hamas. I think the collective online left has just completely lost its mind. I think it's just totally fucking rotten from the core. And I mean, this is just proof of it. Not only is Noah out here saying this shit, he's being propped up by everybody on Twitter. From Hassan has watched all of his videos in their entirety. He's dedicated hours of time watching Noah's videos. And George Janitis, the human STD, watching all of his videos. God, he really is a human STD. That's so good. George Janitis. I'd love to see George Janitis step foot outside of Argentina and see how fast he gets sued by like a dozen people. But that's okay. None of them are as dedicated, as crazy, and as willing to waste money as I am. So Georgie boy thinks he's safe out there. But he's not, he's just never really come up against someone like me. I'll just be honest. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I have more money than them. I'm more dedicated than them. All these things are like, maybe it's not worth it. That's all gone. Maybe it's not worth it to spend $1 million pursuing some fucking human STD in Argentina. No, that's gone. When you guys contributed to an atmosphere in which the CPS was called on my house, when you specifically, George, joked about calling the CPS, when you specifically, George, suggested I was lying about the CPS coming to my house, when you, George, specifically propagated this whole thing by saying that my kids were crawling around and eating shit, potentially eating shit, welcome to my world, baby. You know what I mean? Let's fucking get it, dude. And I've been in a lawsuit with Ryan Kavanagh now for like over 3 years, and I've spent countless hundreds of thousands. To me, this is just like my free time. This is a Sunday breeze, okay? So yeah, we're gonna be working with Argentinian lawyers, investigators, police, and we are going to be basically exploring all and every possible legal and civil venue to hold the human STD, George Janitis, responsible for his slander, his defamation, his disgusting, violent fucking rhetoric. Yeah, the guy who cosplayed as a Hamas terrorist and pretended to kill my wife. And again, just I have to emphasize, this guy, who is so clearly insane, is being propped up by Noah, which is less surprising because he's also insane, but more so by Hassan, who's now dedicated a dozen hours probably to watching Bad Empanada videos in its entirety. And just nodding along, by the way, when he goes, Ela Klein is a terror. He said something like, Ela Klein is a terrorist that kills babies, like without a hint of irony. And Hassan's just like, That's the sound he made. What Hassan does, you guys are going to learn throughout all this, is that these are his attack dogs. He uses them to say the shit that he wouldn't say, to attack the people in ways that is obviously below the belt, that is unacceptable. And instead of having to say it himself, he rewards them by watching their entire videos on his stream in its entirety. And it's basically as good as him saying it in that case, but he doesn't have any of the liability. So that's why he throws it. And now in George's case, this has proven a useful, a symbiotic relationship, because George is in Argentina, away from most forms of accountability, right? Now, Noah is actually being played as a fucking idiot, because Noah is doing his dirty work, but he's doing it from Los Angeles. Noah, you're about to find out that you're a tool, my friend. And I look forward to Hassan paying for your lawyer fees, too. I mean, that's the least he could do, right? So it continues. We were talking about that Noah says, I perpetuate the mass rape hoax by misreporting what's in the UN report. The UN report, with regards to the hostages, the mission team found clear and convincing information that some hostages taken in Gaza have been subjected to various forms of conflict-related violence, and has reasonable grounds to believe that such violence is ongoing. Paragraph 86 of the UN report does not support the assertion that Hamas does not engage in mass rapes on October 7th. As the plain language of paragraph 86 states, the investigators could not determine the exact scope of the sexual violence because it would require a separate, more comprehensive investigation, not because there was no evidence. Once again, Noah and many others lie about this to whitewash Hamas's reputation, which again is like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to run defense for Hamas to be pro-Palestinian. And I don't know why you think that. It's really quite a thing. Meanwhile, the Gazans are actually protesting Hamas, and they're trying to fucking whitewash them. Isn't that incredible? The mission team was unable to establish the prevalence of sexual violence and concludes that the overall magnitude, scope, and specific attribution of these violations would require a fully fledged investigation. A comprehensive investigation would enable the information base to be expanded in locations which the mission team was not able to visit, and to build the required trust with survivors, victims of conflict-related sexual violence, who may be reluctant to come forward at this point. And there, these people are calling them all liars. How about that, huh? Additionally, immediately after the second defamatory statement, you cite materials you claim support your assertion that the same hoax that was used by the Western media, the U.S. government, and the Israeli government to justify genocide. The material you cited, however, only discusses conflict-related sexual violence in general and not October 7th. And it did not discuss Israel's action in Gaza whatsoever. By misrepresenting the factual basis of the second defamatory statement, particularly after reviewing the UN report yourself, you knew the second defamatory statement was false. Third defamatory statement. Despite making the factual assertion that Ethan spreads, quote, overt misinformation and, quote, straight up lies about Hezbollah, you do not identify a single piece of misinformation or falsehoods Ethan made about the organization. It's incredible. I went and I've watched the video, and there so many times he goes, Ethan has done this horrible thing, and then just moves on with zero fucking support. Indeed, you do not address, let alone refute, the assertions made in the nuke that state, 1, Hezbollah engages in terrorism resulting in the deaths of thousands of civilians. 2, Hezbollah orchestrated the assassination of Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. 3, Hezbollah hijacked airplanes. 4, Hezbollah fired 15,000 rockets in civilian areas. 5, Hezbollah intervened in the Syrian civil war to aid the dictator Bashar al-Assad, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of civilians. And 6, Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah has made numerous anti-Semitic and genocidal statements against Jews. 7, Hezbollah initiated the most recent rounds of fighting on October 8th, not Israel, which resulted in 100 Israelis killed and over 200,000 displaced. All statements of fact, by the way, that he did zero effort to refute. He just says, I'm, quote, straight up lying with overt misinformation. As to the Houthis, you do not claim Ethan lied or spread misinformation about the Houthis. 1, recruiting child soldiers. 2, shelling civilians. 3, blocking aid to civilians. 4, ruining agricultural land with mines. 5, oppressing women and members of the LGBTQ community. 6, torturing and killing women. 7, performing Nazi salutes. 8, flag states death to Israel and curse upon the Jews. 9, captured the Galaxy leader in international waters, not Yemeni waters, and the ship was not destined or traveling from Israel. And 10, took the crew of the Galaxy leader who were not Israeli hostage. Did he attempt to interface with any of the factual assertions I made? No, of course not. He just accuses me of spreading overt misinformation and, quote, straight up lies. Instead, you focus solely on Ethan's assertion that the Houthis engage in slavery. You do not, however, proffer facts refuting this assertion. Rather, you attempt to impeach the credibility of the source relied upon by Ethan. For example, you attack the article entitled Exclusive, Houthis Restore Slavery in Yemen, from Asark al-Awsat, English version. The article itself refers to receiving information from sources close to the group, several local reports, Yemeni activists, and members of the Lawyers Syndicate in Yemen, and a civilian who works for a pro-Houthi tribal leader in Sa'ada. Other than your blithe assertions that the article contains baseless claims from, quote, Saudi state propaganda outlets, you cite no evidence to refute the substance of the articles or the sources it's relied upon. Fucking checkmate. Try to spin that one, fucking you and your human STD friend. Try to spin that, bro. We wrote this letter specifically to be as dry and factually to the point as possible so that there was like no spin, no drama, no way to like just make like a slop drama video out of this. He's got to show what it says. And he's got to respond to it. I mean, he has to respond to us, legally speaking. Further, it is evident you did not even watch the Al Jazeera World documentary, Slavery in Yemen. The documentary focused on Yemen's overall culture of slavery and deposed government's denial of its existence. Moreover, it is highly misleading to claim it was issued before the Houthi takeover of Yemen, since the Houthis controlled part of Yemen as early as March 2011 with the Battle of Sa'ada. Further, the Al Jazeera documentary was released on September 10th, 2014, 6 days before the Battle of Sa'ada, Sana'a, and 11 days before the Houthis prevailed on September 21st, 2014. Your blithe factual assertions that Ethan misrepresented information about Hezbollah and the Houthis, particularly after you watched the nuke, along with failing to disclose or misrepresent the factual basis of the third defamatory statement, demonstrates you knew it was false. The fourth defamatory statement. For the fourth defamatory statement, you do not identify what Ethan said that denied the Nakba, how these points were debunked, and how these talking points legitimize Israelis' colonization. Instead, you show a screenshot of Bad Empanada, a.k.a. George Janitis, the human STD, his video entitled Nakba Denier, Expulsion Liar, Content Nuke Destroyed, with the text debunked here by George Janitis, the human STD. So again, this is why we're forced to talk about you, is because Noah, in his infinite wisdom, and just obviously being an expert on the topic, he accuses me of Nakba denial that legitimizes Israeli occupation, and his proof is go watch George Janitis, human STD's video on it. Okay, that's what we did. You are well aware that Bad Empanada exhibited tremendous bias against Ethan and is known for spreading misinformation and anti-Semitism. The Bad Empanada video exemplifies this point. Bad Empanada video begins with him claiming Ethan Klein attempts to justify the Israeli settler colonial state by glossing over the Nakba. This is completely false, and Bad Empanada fails to show any clip from the nuke supporting this assertion. Rather, in the clip cited, Bad Empanada, Ethan discusses, 1, that Jews would not feel safe as an ethnic minority, and 2, Israel is comprised of refugees from Europe and Arab countries, and 3, following the 1948 war, there were more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. And 4, there are hardly any Jews left in Arab countries. Bad Empanada, you do not attempt to address any of these factual assertions. None of this denies the Nakba or downplays it. Rather, it is a fact that approximately 900,000 Jews migrated, fled, or expelled from Muslim-majority countries throughout Africa and Asia, primarily as a consequence of the establishment of the State of Israel. And the Nakba turned 700,000 Palestinians into refugees, which was mainly caused by Israeli arms. Next, Bad Empton attempts to debunk the exodus of Jews from Morocco by arguing Morocco was still a French colonial progression after the 1948 war, and that the Jewish agency struck an agreement with the French governor to force Moroccan Jews to immigrate. This is a gross misrepresentation of what occurred. In June 1948, riots against Jews broke out in Ouda and Gerada, which were, quote, two towns located near the border of Algeria. These two towns were departure points for Moroccan Jews seeking to reach Israel, when they were not permitted to do so from within Morocco. And the eyes of many Moroccan Jews would join the ranks of enemy combatants against the Arab armies. It took French authorities 3 hours to intervene in Ouda and Gerada. Within that time, 5 Jews were killed, 30 seriously injured, and shows and homes looted. In Gerada, where the Jewish population was only 100, 39 Jews were killed and 37 wounded out of 100. Due to the riots in Ouda and Gerada, 28,000 Moroccan Jews left for Israel between 1948 and 1951. From 1955 to 1957, immediately before and after Moroccan independence in 1956, 70,000 Moroccan Jews left between 1955 and 1957 due to hostility from Arab nationalism. After Moroccan independence, an additional 130,000 Moroccan Jews left for Israel. Further, George Janitis, the human STD, misrepresents the article cited in this video, which misrepresents the content of its citing source. Bad Empton claims that the Jewish agency, quote, struck an agreement with the French governor of Morocco or to force Moroccan Jews to immigrate. Bad Empton's video, that he's citing it, the actual article states that the Jewish agency had to strike an agreement with the French governor of Morocco to bring about the immigration of Moroccan Jews. Further, the source cited in the article does not support, in this article, the first Israelis, does not support either assertion. Rather, Segev was referring to observations of a Jewish agency emissary of Moroccan Jews who were located in the transit camps of Marseille, France. After leaving Morocco due to the riots of Ouda and Gerada and the hostilities from the rise of Arab nationalism, the emissary observed Moroccan Jews expressing reluctance to go to Israel due to hearing about the hardships of settling in Israel. While some Moroccan Jews opted to return to Morocco, the emissary also noted that others decided to remain in Marseille and would wait for, quote, until the housing situation in Israel improved. George Janitis, the human STD, goes on to debunk the exodus of Jews from Algeria by arguing, 1, the Crémant decree granted Algerian Jews French citizenship, and the Algerian Jews oppressed the Algerian Christians and Muslims as a result. And 2, once Algeria achieved independence, it gave an ultimatum to the French citizens, not just the Jews, to renounce their citizenship and leave the country. Once again, this is highly misleading. Algeria never offered Jews citizenship after independence. Rather, the government harassed the Jewish community and deprived Jews of their economic rights. Indeed, Algerian National Code of 1963 only afforded citizens and inhabitants who had at least 2 Algerian-born descendants on the father's side that were Muslim. The law was codified in Article 32 of Algeria's National Code in December 1970. Now, by the way, he says this is all sourced from ChatGPT, so clearly he should have no problem factually refuting these very specific misrepresentations in his argument. George Janitis, the human STD, also ignores the major contributing factor of Algerian Jews immigrating from Algeria. One major factor was 1938 pogrom of Constantine, which resulted in 25 dead, dozens injured, and several homes and shops looted. Another in the FLN targeting Jews and Jewish institutes for approximately 90 separate occasions from 1956 to 1958 during the Algerian War of Independence, despite some Jews joining and supporting the FLN. After the Six-Day War, the remaining Jews in Algeria suffered additional anti-Semitic riots, which contributed to the remaining Algerian Jews leaving. Additionally, it's ahistorical to claim only Algerian Jews and not Algerian Muslims were granted French citizenship by the 1870 Dumois Decree. Algerian Muslims were offered French citizenship but rejected on the grounds that they would be subject to French civil law. Algerian Jews accepted French citizenship in large part due to the massacre of Jews in Algeria. Moreover, to describe Algerian Jews as, quote, oppressors that collaborated with the French ignores, 1, the rampant anti-Semitism in mainland France. 2, French authorities failed to prevent the 1934 pogrom of Constantine. And 3, Algerian Jews lost citizenship in 1940 and were barred from working in public service. Finally, George Janitis, the human STD, attempts to debunk the exodus of Jews from Iraq by arguing, 1, Iraq desperately tried to keep its Jews and passed laws preventing them from leaving. And 2, the Zionists committed terrorist acts to poison the relations between Iraqi Arabs and Jews, motivated the Jews to leave and pressure the Iraqi government to rescind the ban. He's in some like super deep, like fucking anti-Semitic revisionary history stuff here, man. It's actually scary that he puts this stuff forward as factual and people believe it. These assertions are ahistorical. The bombing campaign that the human STD is referring to occurred from April 1950 through June 1951. March 1950, before the bombing, the Iraqi government authorized the immigration of Iraqi Jews to Israel on condition they relinquish their Iraqi citizenship, which would result in disposition of all of their property to the state. Moreover, the responsibility for the bombing is hotly contested. 2 Zionist activists were convicted of the bombing. The sole evidence against them was a confession from one which was given under torture. Further, the claims that Zionists were responsible for the immigration of Iraqi Jews fails to withstand scrutiny. Many of the bombings occurred after the law permitting Jews to leave the country had expired. If the bombing campaigns were part of a Zionist effort to expedite Jews to migrate, it is extremely odd that these bombings would be carried out when only 5,000 Iraqi Jews remained out of the original 125,000. George Janitis, the human STD, ignores key events prior to April 1950 regarding the spread of anti-Semitism in Iraq. Beginning in the 1930s, the situation for Iraqi Jews deteriorated for 2 major reasons: the ongoing conflict and the Palestinian Mandate, the introduction of Nazi propaganda. In 1934, barely 2 years after the Iraqi independence, Jews were being fired from positions in the Iraqi Ministry of Economics and Communications, and quotas were being imposed on Jews for civil service positions, secondary schools, and colleges. Beginning in 1936, physical attacks on Baghdadi Jews became increasingly frequent. In 1938, Iraq made Zionist activity a crime. The testimony of 2 Muslims was sufficient to convict any Jew. The result was arbitrary enforcement of the law, such as possessing a biblical map of the Holy Land. The law was also used as a method of extorting Iraq's most prominent Jews. The most notable example was Shafiq Ads, who was fined and hanged on the baseless charge of sending military equipment to Israel. On April 1st, 1941, the pro-Nazi and fascist politician Rashid Ali al-Quilani successfully led another coup, which was encouraged by the Palestinian leaders and Nazi propagandist, the Grand Mufti Haji Amin al-Hussein. Even though the al-Quilani rule was short-lived, he played an instrumental role in spreading Nazi ideology, which led to the Farhud on June 1st and 2nd. The Farhud was a program against Baghdadi Jews, resulting in more than 180 Jews killed, looting of Jewish businesses, and destruction of Jewish homes. Prior to the partition vote in 1948, Iraqi Jews were being lynched, their homes ransacked, they were ethnically cleansed from Fallujah, and forced to pay extortion money. After partition, the situation grew even worse. Iraqi Jews were stripped of due process, prohibited from using banks, trains, post office, telegraphs, securing imports and exports license, and all the Jewish workers in the government were fired. In 1950, mere days after the law prohibiting Jewish immigration was passed in March, members of the anti-Jewish Istiqlal Party attacked locations where Jewish belongings were sold. The few Jews remained after 1951 were treated as a fifth column and would become scapegoats for future Arab military defeats against Israel. After the Six-Day War, 9 Iraqi Jews were hanged in Baghdad and 1 in Basra. My granduncle, so this is what I was saying, he actually has a coincidental connection to one of the anti-Semitic lies here that the human STD is peddling. So yes, his granduncle was actually hanged during this pogroms in Basra on false charges of being an Israeli spy after being convicted by a 3-man Ba'athist tribunal. I can't believe his point is that the Jews were actually the oppressors and the Arab countries were begging them to stay. They made laws preventing them from leaving because they wanted them to stay. And somehow there's no Jews left in any of these countries. The sixth defamatory statement. You completely fail to disclose the factual base of the sixth defamatory statement that Ethan labeled al-Haddad as a terrorist was... Oh, so now we're talking about the Houthi Luffy. Labeled al-Haddad as a terrorist with zero credible evidence. The nuke shows social media posts of al-Haddad admitting to being a Houthi terrorist and echoes the Houthis' genocidal rhetoric. The Despite your knowledge of al-Haddad's social media posts, you stated, quote, there was zero credible evidence and that al-Haddad was a Houthi without any supporting evidence or argument whatsoever. This demonstrates you knew the sixth defamatory statement was false. Noah actually says, I claimed that the Houthi Luffy was a terrorist with zero support. Like, bro, what the fuck reality are we living in? I dedicated quite a large swath of that video to showing that this guy's a terrorist. In conclusion, our clients demand you provide a retraction and correction of all the defamatory statements identified in this letter in compliance with California Civil Code Section 48A. This letter does not, blah, blah, and this is just some legal jargon. So this is the ball's in your court, my friend Noah. You wished me to have fun with it, and I am going to have a ball. And as much as your friend, the human STD flounders and flops like a fish, it's coming. It's coming. That's the thing. You can't stop it.